Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Claim Your Justice Facebook Live. Last time we had a Facebook Live session, we discussed the liability that may exist for the victims of the Highland Park 4th of July terrible shooting. And this session we want to continue to explore when and who may be responsible for criminal acts of a third person. There was recently a case that happened down south, I think it may have been Texas, where a cable company worker murdered a customer of the cable company. Sounds terrible. What had happened was, as reported, the worker had done some installation work at this customer's house, went back a day later, and committed this murder. I don't know if there was an additional robbery or not, but went back and this poor lady passed away, elderly woman, was murdered at the hands of this criminal. The family of the decedent, the woman who died, had sued the cable company, arguing different factors that we'll talk about in a second. The cable company's immediate response is Law School 101, we are not responsible for the criminal acts of a third person. That's generally true. It's been a defense for hundreds of years from the common law era, dating back to England, and it's still a defense today, hundreds of years later. However, there's exceptions. And in this case that we're talking about in Texas or down south, the jury found that the cable company was liable for the criminal acts of this installer, and there was facts, as I understand it, that the installer who committed this murder had a previous criminal history, which in and of itself is not bad, not a reason not to hire the person, but you need to know perhaps if the person has a violent criminal history, you don't put them in contact face-to-face with a customer. Maybe you make them a call center worker or an engineer in the technical support department. There was also facts, as I understand it, that the person who was charged with this murder had previous complaints about unusual activity at customers' houses. So it was determined that the company didn't do enough to protect its customers, didn't do significant background checks perhaps, didn't do significant oversight and supervision and monitoring of the worker, didn't properly investigate previous complaints, and may have put this person in the wrong position with the customer contact. There was a big jury verdict against the cable company, which I'm sure will be appealed, but the purpose of this conversation today is to let you know that sometimes when you think there may not be a case, you should ask. You should call Claim Your Justice and let us answer the case for you. There's a number of factors we're going to talk about. The best way to reach out is 888-885-3484. That's 888-88-KEITH. So the question becomes, when is it foreseeable that a business can be held liable for the criminal acts of another? Let's talk about a common setting. You travel. You may travel for work. You may travel for pleasure. You may travel for a family celebration. You're in a hotel, and some creep goes into the master key at the hotel. He's an employee of the hotel, and he breaks into your room and commits a sexual criminal act. And you want to sue the hotel. You're going to sue the hotel and say, hey, you're responsible because you didn't protect me. There's a special relationship as a business invitee into the hotel that you need to protect me. Sure enough, the first thing that's on the response by the hotel is, we're not responsible for the criminal acts of another. But wait, they may be. Did the person they hire have a criminal record that the hotel did not properly do a criminal background check? Was it foreseeable, based on previous complaints from other hotel customers, that this person was surveilling rooms, entered a room maybe once before? I understand the labor market out there is tight, but that is absolutely zero excuse. So was there proper security? Did the hotel properly secure access to the keys to only those supervisors or employees who needed access to the keys? Why would a maintenance worker perhaps that's off shift get access to a key? Did the hotel have proper security cameras in place so that this could be monitored? Was there proper locks on the hotel door so that even if a hotel worker had a key, that the visitor, the hotel guest, could lock the door, flip that latch that we see in many hotels. I've stayed in hotels before where the latch is there. Does not work. So if the business doesn't do sufficient safety measures and consider what may be foreseeable, and it's a very fine line, and many of these violations are traumatic. You're talking rapes, you're talking robberies, you're talking other violent offenses, you're talking possible murders. So the question is not automatically answered. It's a blurry issue to decide. Facts need to be developed. Evidence needs to be preserved. That's why, God forbid, something like this happens to you, family member, someone you know. It's important to claim your justice right away so that we can investigate the case, file any necessary preservation motions with the court to secure evidence, and make sure that if someone's going to be responsible for your loss, we do it sooner and get to the determination quicker to preserve the evidence than wait 6 months, 1 year, year and a half later. It never works. The recent shooting in Uvalde, Texas, I saw on the news recently there's going to be a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit filed, and I can imagine that the police department and the police officers are going to be a target of that. In addition to gun manufacturers, the company that installed the locks on the school that may not have been working, the decisions by the administrators to install certain locks and not different locks. I think it was 17 children and 2 adults killed in that murder, in that violation by one crazy criminal teenager, and it's on video what he did. So the question is, was every necessary, reasonable security measure taken by the school? Again, the issue turns back to, when can another person or company be held liable for the criminal acts of a third person? Now, you could imagine that if a person walks up on the street and smacks another person, like you see on videos regularly these days, you can't sue the police department for not monitoring that particular street. However, in the CTA situation, did they have it, if it happened on a CTA or another type of metro transit system, did they have proper security guards at the time? Did the studies that have been conducted by consultants say you need 5 on this particular train platform and they only had 1? Or the training was insufficient for the security? So just because something happens and you think there may not be liability, I encourage you, claim your justice at 888-88-KEITH. And whenever something happens to you, family member, or someone you know involving a work injury, a truck injury, a wrongful death, medical malpractice, reach out. No, there's no fee unless we win your case. And thank you for tuning in to another session of Claim Your Justice, Facebook Live. Thank you.